Let's look at the first example. 5x to the power of negative 6. Now, whenever we see a negative index and the question asks us to change into a positive index form, what we want to do is refer to this law. A with the power of negative n equals to 1 over a with the power of negative n. So that means this 5x with the power of negative 6 should equal to 5 times by 1 over x to the power of 6. And to simplify it further, we can make it 5 over x to the power of 6. Now let's look at the next example. Open bracket 3 over 5, close bracket, with the power of negative 1. Now, there's a simple trick to this, and what you need to do is just flip the numerator with the denominator, and the answer should be 5 over 3. Let's look at the next example. x3 times by x to the power of negative 8. Now, what you need to do to simplify expressions like this is to add up the powers. In this case, 3 plus negative 8. And this should equal to x to the power of negative 5. Let's look at the next example. X to the power of 3 over x to the power of negative 7. Now, what we want to do now is that we want to bring the x to the power of negative 7 up to the numerator. And when we do this, the negative 7 turns into 7, a positive 7. So then we can do x to the power of 3 plus 7, because when we bring it up, we times with the numerator. So then it will be x to the power of 3 plus 7, and it should equal to x to the power of 10. Let's look at the next example. Square root 3. Whenever a question asks us to change a square root into a term, we should always refer to this law. Square root a equals a with the power of half. Now, the way to do this is that you times the power by half, and now it should equal to 3 with the power of half. Let's look at the next example. Square root 16 times by p squared. Now what I did is that I changed the 16 into 4 squared, and I didn't do anything to the p yet. And then now, since half of 2 is 1, it should come out as 4p, as half of 2 is 1. So then you just take it out. Let's look at our first question. Now, what we do first is that we want to take out this square root. So then, to do that, we need to divide these powers, by the square root, and the square root is 1/2. So then this should equal to this. Yeah, this is the operation, and it should equal to this. Now the next thing I did is that I have divided a squared by a. I divided a squared by a, and that leaves no a down here. And when you divide a squared by a, since this has double the power, since this has the power of 2, and when you divide, you just minus the powers, so then that leaves a with only 1 power, and then it stays like that. Now the next thing you want to do is that you want to bring this 5 with the power of negative 3 to the top here, so then that way we can simplify more. So now we've brought that 5 with the power of negative 3 up. It changed its power to positive 3. So then now we can continue simplifying. And what we did next is that we did 5 squared times by 5 to the power of 3. And like we did like we did before, when we times, we plus the power, so then it becomes 5, power of 2 plus 3 times a, and then the final answer should be 5 to the power of 5a. Let's look at the second question. Now this one's a little bit harder. First thing I did is that I changed this 64 into a 2 to the power of 6. Here, as we can see. Now, what I want to do after this is that I want to change this. I want to get rid of these thirds. I want to get rid of this. So then what you want to do is divide the powers by the square root, and this square root's power is 3, so divide all the numerator by 3, and this is square root, so then you just divide all by 2, so then this should be 3 to the power of 4, 4 to the power of negative 4, and this should be 7 to the power of 2. Now what I want to do next is that I want to get rid of these brackets and this power, so then I just rise all the terms powers, and it should equal to this. Pause if you want to check if it's right. And what I did next is that I have brought this up to the numerator and brought this down to the denominator. When I did this, I've changed the powers of both of the terms, and it should be this. And then what I did next is that I changed this. I've changed 4 to the power of 2 into 2 to the power of 4, and change this 3 squared into a 9, like this. So then that way I could simplify it even further. So then this becomes 2 to the power of 5, as this has one power. So the 1 plus 4, 5, so 2 to the power of 5. 9 times 7, 63. And then the final answer should be this.